Hello, here I am again to talk about another top 10. This time it's for Bruce Willis. Bruce Willis, like all the others, have been in my life since I was a child, starting with Die Hard, movies like that. So, this is my top 10 for me of what I like to rewatch. So at number 10, we have got Looper, starring Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Bruce Willis. This was a genius film, and I can see why Disney hired Rian Johnson to be the director of The Last Jedi. If he'd have just stuck at this, he would go down a legend with me, but because of what he did to the Star Wars franchise, which is a separate thing, I kind of have a little bit of hatred towards Looper now, because he used this as a stepping stone to deliberately destroy The Last Jedi. But this film is fantastic, and what they tried to do with the budget, which was only 30 million, is try and make Joseph Gordon-Levitt look like Bruce Willis, and it's kind of convincing. So I'm going to put that in at number 10. Now I'm going to go for Sin City at number 9. Sin City is a great film. It's beautifully directed. The colour schemes and the comic book vibe is wonderful. The sequel, not so much, but this one is great. Does it have an all-star cast? Yep. Is Bruce Willis' character just as important? Yeah. And I think he plays him brilliantly. So I'm putting that there. Next is 12 Monkeys. This is a head trip of a film. Brad Pitt's great in it. Bruce is phenomenal in this film. And yeah, I like to rewatch it. It's good. Now, at number 7, what have we got next? Lucky Number 11. I went to see this at the cinema, and I remember thinking, this is a very intelligent film. You could tell it wasn't going to make huge numbers, but the story itself was very adult, very clever, and Bruce plays his part phenomenally. So I'm putting that there. Now, The Sixth Sense is at number 6 for me. This is a great film. I've seen it, I don't know how many times, at least 20. And you're always trying to look for new clues each time you watch it to see if you could tell if he was dead. And of course, you always see it now. But the first initial twist, this was the start of something good, and Bruce was a part of it. And although he doesn't speak much in this film, his acting's great. So I'm putting that there. Now at number 5, with Die Hard with a Vengeance. This sometimes is on par with the first one. However, upon a rewatch, I realised that I only like the first half of the film. Well, love the first half. The second half, something happens. Well, even though it's great, but there's like a drop of the ball slightly, and that's why it doesn't outshine the first one. It doesn't end as good as you want it to. But it's still a great film. And the Simon Says games are great. Like, I just wanted a full film of that, if I'm honest. And as soon as they stop, then the fun stops. So I'm putting that one there. And at number 4, I've got Unbreakable. At the time when this first came out, I was on a high from watching The Sixth Sense, and it was like, give me more of this director. He clearly knows how to do a twist. And he does it again in this film. Like, some people hate this film, they say it's boring. But both performances from Samuel L. Jackson and Bruce Willis are great. Like, the build-up, the twist at the end is superb. The relationship with his son, his wife, it's all very cold and negative. It's almost like it's a glimpse of his character in The Sixth Sense. Like, the relationship is dead between Bruce and his wife. I can't remember the character names in this. But yeah, it's a great film. and it uses the superhero genre in a terrific, realistic, probably the most realistic way I've ever seen. So I'm going to put that one there. Now at number 3, I have got The Last Boy Scout. This is like a sleeper hit. Everybody loves it that I know, but this never got a sequel. It's a buddy cop movie that could have had more to it, but it just didn't. And I love rewatching it. There's so many one-liners in this film from Bruce Willis that just land. Like, his comedic timing is superb, and the dynamic between him and Damon Wayans is brilliant. So I'm going to put that there. Now, I've got 2 more to choose from, and at number 2, I'm going to go with Die Hard. Now, most people will hate me for that. They'll be like, oh, Die Hard's Bruce Willis' best film. It's an amazing film, but it's not my number 1. We're introduced to John McClane in this, and it's the start of something big. Did they know at the time? What a gamble to place Bruce Willis in a role like this, and it paid off. It spawned loads of sequels. 4 sequels. Are they all good? No, not really. But did it invent something that people want more of? Yeah. It's a great movie, but it's not my number 1. So, now my number 1 top Bruce Willis movie and performance is Pulp Fiction. Like, every time I watch this, I'm so intrigued with his story. Him wanting his watch and how desperate he is to get it back, because it means so much to him. He actually looks like a boxer in this. Like, he looks frightening. But he's gentle, especially with his partner. And just his role, his whole scene, like, give me more of that era. Like, it's just great. You're glued to it from the start to the finish. Even though it's out of coherent order, you can work out what's going on. And there is an unforgettable scene where Zed has got Marcellus Wallace down in the basement, and Bruce is patiently trying to creep back in and choose the weapon to destroy these people who are hurting Marcellus Wallace, let's say. And it's just an amazing scene. Like, if you've never seen this film, go and watch it. Bruce Willis is superb in it, and it's my number 1 role of his. So if you agree with that, that's wonderful. Like, subscribe, whatever it is that you have to do, just do it, and it'll help me out. Thank you. Hello, welcome back. Today we are going to be doing the top 10, my top 10, of Bill Murray. The movies of Bill Murray. This guy's been around since I was born, and from a very young age I gravitated towards his films. He was mainly a comedy star. Now he does more serious roles and cameo roles. But back in the day, this guy was a comedian, and he had something electric about him. He's quite deadpan. However, there's a humour and an attraction to this man, because to look at, if he was walking down the street, you wouldn't look twice at him. But when he opens his mouth and he talks, he has a charm and a charisma that is second to none when it comes to giving it his all. And you can see why characters like Dana from Ghostbusters could potentially find him attractive. He has something, a presence, an X factor, whatever you want to call it. And you can see why SNL pushed him towards the movies, and he was a great success for them. So at number 10, I have the Tim Burton classic Ed Wood. Now, this film was not a financial success at all. However, the movie is great. It's filmed in this black and white noir style. Johnny Depp does a great performance, but Bill Murray does something a little bit different with this. He takes it to a level where he's playing this transvestite who wants to become a woman. And the way he does this in his deadpan style is great. He's sat with Johnny Depp's character mentioning that he's going to have his organs removed and finally make the transition into a woman. And for that, seeing Bill Murray do this and doing it seriously, it's good. It's good. It's a film tongue-in-cheek a little bit, but it's Tim Burton. It's twisted. It was when Tim Burton was good. He used to be such a good director. And he managed to score Bill Murray in one of his movies. So for that, it does have rewatchability for me. And I'm putting that one there. So, we have the delightful, serious role, Broken Flowers. In this one, Bill Murray plays a man who had many relationships with women. The Don Juan of his era. And he receives a letter saying that he is a father and that he has a child looking for him who's 19. And he has to think back to that time because he doesn't know which of the women have sent this letter to him. And the plot of the movie is him going to investigate each woman to find out if it's them. And in that journey, we get to see him grow as a person. This is somebody who didn't have a child, and then suddenly he's been forced into this new world of finding out. Because it's in our DNA to want to know about our children. And for this, I like it. It's good. It's got a brilliant cast. We've got Tilda Swinton, Jeffrey Wright. We've got Sharon Stone. And I'm putting that one there. Next for me is Mad Dog and Glory. When I first saw this, I don't know what I was expecting. I was expecting maybe a comedy. And it kind of is, maybe slightly. But what we get to see is Bill Murray playing a villain. He comes across as this lovely gangster who just wants to help. But he's got his own issues. And this is what are explored during this movie. Like, do not cross this gangster. If he helps you, you have to kind of go on his journey with him. And Robert De Niro's character wants to defy him. Even though he's been nice to him, he wants to basically take away Uma Thurman's character away from the gangster life, because he's fallen in love with her. But Bill Murray, being the gangster that he is, just doesn't allow it. And you get to see this fight between De Niro and Bill Murray, and it's brilliant. Carrying it along is Uma Thurman's character. She's the bridge between those two, what keeps those two in conflict and friendship, because they're not always at loggerheads. I like to rewatch this one because it has a serious tone. Like, I do love comedy as well, but like to just keep watching comedies, I like serious, I like versatility. And Bill Murray shows it here as the gangster. So I'm putting that one here. Next for me is What About Bob? I remember seeing this back when it first came out and absolutely adoring it. And the reason for it is we get to see a very anxious, depressed Bill Murray visiting his psychiatrist. And his psychiatrist just wants to take a break. That's all he wants. And he's played wonderfully by Richard Dreyfuss. And Bill Murray's character, Bob, tries to see his doctor because he needs him. He's having some sort of episode. And he decides to go and visit his doctor on vacation. And the film just is electric from there. What we get to see is Bill Murray slowly destroy Richard Dreyfuss' character, but kind of like take over his family. The stress and the depression that is put upon Dreyfuss is wonderful, but it wouldn't be wonderful without the annoying, claustrophobic feeling you get that Bill Murray puts up upon his character. Like, his family begin to love him, And Dreyfus is like, I don't understand it. Why do you want Bob around? Everyone loves Bob. He's this friendly guy. But the reality is underlying there's a mental health problem. And Dreyfus can see that. And Bob manipulates it. And it's just great. Bill Murray plays him beautifully. And I'm putting that one there. Okay, next for me is the delightful and not talked about movie, and that is Quick Change. This is great. Like, the plot is silly but clever at the same time. Bill Murray plays the character of Grim, a bank robber who just wants to get some quick and easy money, and he comes up with the elaborate scheme of dressing as a clown when he robs the bank, and then removing his makeup and looking like he's a hostage to escape the bank. Now Jason Robards plays the police detective who's trying to figure out what's happened, and he does. And when we're sent on this wild goose chase between Bill Murray, Randy Quaid and Gina Davis on the run, just trying to escape with what they've done. And it's beautiful. Bill Murray delivers some brilliant deadpan gags when he's robbing the bank. Dressed as a clown, the most unclown-like man is dressed as a clown. And it's just, it works so well. The humour, the big painted smile on his face. It works. And I recommend this film to anybody. It's a good family film, I think. So yeah, watch it. Quick Change. It's one of his best. Okay. Next for me is Kingpin. Now this is a Woody Harrelson and Randy Quaid film. However, Bill Murray plays a phenomenal villainous character in this. A likeable one. And he pretty much destroys Woody Harrelson's character, Roy Munson, just by leaving him after a hustle. And you can see that he has no empathy or compassion. He's a narcissist with a huge ego. He doesn't like to lose. It doesn't matter. He doesn't have any genuine friends, but he's a success in life. And Roy hates him, has revenge in his heart for him for what he's done and what he's taken away from him. And Bill Murray just plays this villain wonderfully. Like, it's so funny. Like, it's Bill Murray at his best. So I'm going to put that one there. Now next for me, we've got Scrooged. This is a film that gets watched nearly every year from me. Sometimes more than once. At Christmas time, because it's a Christmas classic, and Bill Murray plays Frank Cross, the TV CEO of the network who has completely lost his way. He's successful, but he's not happy. He doesn't care. We see that when he gets his award. He just leaves it in the taxi cab. But the reality is, after the wake-up call from his friend, his boss, Bill Murray is taken on a journey back into the past, and it's just the Scrooge classic as a modern tale, and it works. His chemistry with Karen Allen is very good. The end scene is phenomenal. You believe that Bill Murray is Frank Ross and that he's giving you a message of to be nice to each other, be kind, and I'll take that message each year to remind us of how lucky we are. So I'm putting that one there. Okay, next for me, this was hard. Really, this should be for number one in some ways, but it's not, and that's Ghostbusters. This is the first film that I saw Bill Murray in, fell in love with him in. I love it. I do love the way he plays him. The problem with Ghostbusters is, you take away the lights and the special effects and all that, it's not that funny. But Bill Murray is. We're open to him being the player that he is, womanizing, doing the electric shock treatment on the man but not on the woman. Some of the lines he delivers to Dana are great. The chemistry between him and Sigourney Weaver is very good, and he's an essential part of the Ghostbusters because he keeps it kind of grounded. He's the real man who's not... How he gets away with being a scientist, I have no idea. Like, we believe it from Harold Ramis playing Egon and Dan Aykroyd being Ray, but with Peter we see no evidence of his knowledge to be called a doctor. We just believe it. Ghostbusters has been talked about a million times. The problem I've got with Ghostbusters is where it's gone now. Like, we had a really good first foundation of a film, an okay sequel, and the rest of it's just garbage. It's garbage, and now he's making cameos in the newer ones, and I'm sick of seeing it, if I'm honest. I want Ghostbusters to end, and it's sad. I always wanted more from this franchise, but now I want it to end, just like I do with Star Wars. I want it all to stop. This bleeding of a subject matter. The foundations for this film, the energy from 1984, you can see it, but they could never recapture it. So I'm putting that one there. Okay, so at number 2, this was hard, but I'm going to choose Groundhog Day. In this movie, Bill Murray plays Phil Connors, a guy who needs educating about life, and for some reason he gets trapped in the same day over and over and over again. And at first we see him depressed, and then he decides to learn things and become a better person, and we're taking on that journey. And are the scenes reenacted over and over again? Yep. Does it take away from the film story? No. It's beautifully directed by Harold Ramis, and Bill Murray's chemistry with Andy McDowell is great. You believe it. It feels like a Christmas film because of all the snow and the setting, and it's a movie I like to rewatch countless times because I get something from it. I get a heartwarming feeling from watching Groundhog Day. The transition of him from being mediocre of a man to learning all these new skills, how to behave with people, being helpful, being kind, realising that this is the way to be, and then for the Groundhog Day to stop and for it to be unlocked and for him to have a chance of being happy. That's why I like Groundhog Day. So I'm putting that one there. Okay, so my number 1 Bill Murray performance and rewatchability is Stripes. Years ago I would have said it was Ghostbusters hand down, but after rewatching Stripes many times, I love the character of John Winger. Like, again, there is a bit of rinse, cycle, repeat with him being a mediocre guy and then becoming like the hero by the end of it. I'll take it because it's funny and it's almost believable. Other movies have tried to take from this, like Police Academy, and they've just not been as successful. And it's all down to the chemistry between Harold Ramis, Bill Murray, and the direction of Ivan Reitman. John Candy adds to it, but we really grow to love John. At the beginning he's a taxi cab driver who loses his job and has no money. He loses his girlfriend and he decides to join the army, and that's where the film begins. His cocky attitude helps with the way his cocky attitude helps the story. We see him going from this no one can tell me what to do sort of guy into this. He's turned into a soldier in this film, and he doesn't even realise it, and a good soldier as well. Heroic. And I like it for that, but more than anything, it's funny. Like, it's funny. Some of the one-liners that he has in this are brilliant, and for its age, it holds up. So I recommend Stripes to anybody, and it's my number 1 Bill Murray performance. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed this. If you didn't, please just go away. Thank you. Hello, here I am to talk about Nicolas Cage, the one, the only. So I'm going to do my top 10 Nicolas Cage movies, starting with, at number 10, we have The Rock. I'm relatively new to The Rock. I've only seen it 2 or 3 times in the last 5 years. So I didn't grow up with it, and I know that he's done better performances. However, I do like it, but it sits here at number 10 because it's more a Sean Connery film, and Nicolas Cage's character is a bit of a dweeb. Well, there's nothing wrong with that, but it's not his best role. So I do like it, and it sits at number 10. Now, at number 9, I've got Bringing Out the Dead, the Martin Scorsese movie, starring Nicolas Cage as a paramedic who is faced with death all the time and the depression that comes with it. He just wants out of this job, which is causing his life to just diminish. It's draining his soul, and the way that this movie is filmed captivates this. It is haunting to watch. However, it is also an amazing film to watch if you want something a bit more grounded, a bit more less guns and more soul, and to get to see Nicolas Cage acting as he does when he was at his best. So yeah, we've got Nicolas Cage in that, Bringing Out the Dead. Now, at number 8, I've got 8mm. Again, this is another one of those films where the subject matter of it, which is snuff movies, it's kind of dirty. It's like watching Trainspotting. You feel dirty after you've watched it. It's good though, and we get to see Joaquin Phoenix doing his thing as a young man, and I like watching it because Nicolas Cage is good in it. Like, even though the plot is sinister, like, there's some resolution to what you're seeing. Like, it's not all doom and gloom. So I'm putting that there. So next, at number 7, we have one film that I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me on. It's Con Air. When I was a kid, this film was good. Loved the golden turns and the action blockbuster feel that you got with it. The all-star cast. The genius of some of the dialogue that's given to not only Nicolas Cage but John Malkovich, Steve Buscemi. It's a good movie, and it's cheesy. It's a cheesy movie, and the older I get, cheesier it becomes. So I'm putting Con Air there. Now, at number 6, I've got Wild at Heart. I have a love-hate relationship with this film, depending on my mood, because if you watch this on a good day, this is one of the best films ever. But if you're watching this on like a bad day, like, it's surreal what you're seeing. The highlights is the absolute devotion Nicolas Cage puts into his character in this, and William Dafoe's character turning up. Love that. It's a good movie. Watch it. It's different. It's not like anything you've ever seen before. So I suggest you watch Wild at Heart, and that's going there. Now people are going to be like, what? Why? But in at number 5, I've got The Family Man, which is a remake of a remake of a remake of, I don't know, A Wonderful Life. And I don't know what it is about this film. Nicolas Cage gets a glimpse into the life he could have had because of the poor choice he made from splitting up from somebody he could have had a family with. They both loved each other. But in this, he gets a second chance at what it would have been like if they'd have stuck together. And in a sadistic way, I like the way it's taken away from him in the end. There's something about this story that captivates people and makes people want to watch it. People watch this, the original, It's a Wonderful Life, at Christmas every year. I've seen that once. This I've seen at least 10 times. It does something to me As a family man, as a father, it makes me think about family, the importance of family, and I love it. So I'm putting it there. Now at number 4, I have got Face Off, the John Woo classic. It's a great film. Him and John Travolta do a great job. Nicolas Cage does a better job. I would say it's more focused around him. What we don't get to see is enough of Castor Troy at the beginning. We get to see John Travolta playing him. Nicolas Cage just does an amazing job. He's evil to the core. But once he's playing John Travolta's character, he also does sincerity, and you feel like John Travolta's actually in there. Like, he really taps into what John Travolta's character is, movements and his voice and the way he acts. It's just so good. So we're gonna put that one there. Now at number 3, yes, this is not a Nicolas Cage film, okay? This part is obvious, no one needs to state this, but Kick-Ass. I adore this film. I adore Nicolas Cage's part. I love how he's training his daughter how to use guns and knives and basically be a superhero at a very young age. And the way he acts like Adam West in this film is great. Do I wish he'd have survived and stayed in this franchise? Yeah. Would it have carried the franchise forever? I think so. Did they make a mistake killing him off? No. Because his death scene is pretty graphic. Even though it's silly, like, he's burnt, like, alive. And up until that point, Nicolas Cage's character is absolute gold. We all know what Kick-Ass is about. It's not his film, but it's a good movie, and Nicolas Cage does a great job. So I'm putting that there at number 3. Okay, at number 2, I've chosen this one because this is a great film, an all-round great film, and it's Matchstick Men. It's like a sleeper hit that people, unless you've seen it, you've not even heard of it. They're like, what's that? What's it to do with? Well, it's to do with 2 con men and this journey of conning and being devious and trying to exploit people in ways that you just shouldn't, and the twists and the turns along in this film are great. Like, you've got Sam Rockwell, Nicolas Cage, just deceiving people all around. Like, I suggest you watch it. It's intelligent, it's for adults, and yeah, you'll have a great time with it. Which leaves me only one more Nicolas Cage film, and this is my number 1, and I've talked about it briefly before on another video, and that is Leaving Las Vegas. Leaving Las Vegas has struck so many nerves in me, like it pulls my heartstrings from the get-go. We're introduced to Nicolas Cage's character, who is an alcoholic. He is losing everything. He's lost his wife, his child, because of the alcoholism, the addiction. People tend to run away from people when they're addicted to stuff. The one time that you need help, people usually retreat, go and leave you. And this is depicted so well in this film. We get little flashbacks, we get little photographs, and we see the downhill spiral of Nicolas Cage's character. The alcohol has taken over. He has the shakes. If you've not seen this film, I suggest you watch it, because it will change your life. The sympathy that you feel for his character it's heartbreaking. He wants to go to Vegas to kill himself, drink himself to death. He's lost everything. He doesn't care anymore. He wants to choose his path and to be respected. That's what he wants. But along the way, he meets Sarah, played by Elizabeth Shue, and she's a hooker, and her character falls in love with him. She takes sympathy and empathy and whatever it is and gives him it, but it's not enough. Even though he has feelings for her, the alcohol has taken over that much. It's all he can think about. It's paramount to him. And you slowly see him die. This man who could have had everything loses everything, including Sarah, the one person that cares about him, the last person that cares about him. He loses everything. And for that reason, and his performance, especially when he's drunk in the casino, it's poetic to watch. It's poetic depression, if that's such a thing. Like, if you want to seek out depression, watch this film. You'll find some. But you'll also find something in your heart to learn from. And how we should treat people and not judge them because of poor decisions they've made in their life. We're all human. And the human element is what carries this film. You can learn a lot from this film in the event of his death. As in, I would never let that happen to somebody else. So that is what I take from that film. That's why it's my number one. And that is the end of this video. So if you liked it, like it, subscribe, please. And if you don't, just get off my channel. I don't want you here if you are just here for no reason. Hello, and here I am today to talk about Jean-Claude Van Damme movies. Like, I love Jean-Claude Van Damme. Everybody knows that I do, but I'm going to give you my top 10 list from, it's not even worst to best, it's like the top 10 that I like to watch. I don't even want to diss these movies in any way, because these are a massive part of me. And I know that most of these movies are not that good, but for me they are. They bring something for me that I can't explain, and it must bring something for others, because about 4,000 people subscribed to my channel because of Jean-Claude Van Damme. I was posting clips of him doing the brick smash in Bloodsport, and the world went wild and started to sub to me. And it was a crazy time, and here we are now talking about Jean-Claude Van Damme. So in this particular order, I'm going to start. So at number 10, we've got The Quest, which is Van Damme's own baby of a film. It's an adventure film with a fighting tournament twist. This movie is great because it's a bold attempt at him trying to do something different, but trying to include what he does best, which is fighting. The only problem with this film is we've seen it all before, but the heart that he puts into it and the effort and managing to score Roger Moore to be a part of this really makes it an endearing, rewatchable movie, and I love to rewatch it any time of the year. So The Quest is at number 10. Now for me, at number 9, I've got Double Team. Double Team is a very pretty film. It's very futuristic. We get to see Mickey Rourke, Dennis Rodman, and Jean-Claude Van Damme all in the same movie. Like, what more could you ask for? The only thing that lets it down is Dennis Rodman, because the film itself is actually pretty good. It should have done better. I think if they wouldn't have had Dennis Rodman and cast somebody just that little bit less controversial and ridiculous, then I think this film could have made it at the cinema and done pretty well. Now, what have I got next? Universal Soldier at number 8. People went to see this at the cinema. I do love it, but not as much as the rest. And I think it's because Dolph Lundgren gets a lot of the screen time too. Like, it's both of these actors and characters in this. It's not a particularly just a Jean-Claude Van Damme movie. Is it good? Yeah. Has it got rewatchability? For sure. It's a brilliant film. But it's not my number one, and you'll know why. Okay, at number 7, we've got Double Impact. I love rewatching this film. I've seen this film at least 25 times. It's a delight to watch. It's a high octane, which is a word I use a lot, but just fighting extravaganza of these two brothers who are well played by Van Damme. You know, he tries his best. We get to see Jean-Claude Van Damme reunited with Bolo Young. Is it a bit lackluster of a rematch of a fight? A little bit. But the rest of the film is superb. It's got that late 80s hanging on to the 80s sort of vibe. The outfits that they're all wearing are ridiculous, which makes it even funnier, and has an element of rewatchability that I can't explain. I don't know if it's because of the special effects of them trying to do the split screen, making Van Damme play two people, and I've always had an intrigue of how do they do that. Does it look dated? Yes. But do you believe it? Yeah, you believe that there's two twin brothers who are out for revenge for the death of their parents and what's going to happen with their business. And for that reason, it's where it's at. So, at number 6, we have got Lionheart, which is called AWOL if you live in the UK, but we'll call it Lionheart. This film is great because you can watch this any time of the day. There's like a family vibe to it, even though it's a very violent film and it's about street fighting to make money. There is an undertone of family values in there, and you know that good is going to conquer all. Like, it's got that poetic feeling about it. There's just this almost Disney-like feel to it, and I welcome it because Van Damme really chews up the screen in this just by the way he acts. His vocab's very limited in this film, but the power of his eyes and the way he moves when he's fighting is priceless. So yeah, I'm going to put AWOL, Lionheart right here. Now, this is probably a crazy decision, but sudden death. I can rewatch this many times because it's a Van Damme doing a Die Hard ripoff, and it's great. Powers Booth is a great villain. Some of the deaths in this film are very graphic, like they don't hold back, and then some of the fight scenes are silly. Van Damme's fighting against a woman dressed as a mascot at an ice skating rink, and that particular fight scene is silly. Like, if they wouldn't have had that, this would be further up the list. That's how much I love this film. It's great. Now, don't shoot me here, but at number 4, I've got Bloodsport. Do I love this film? Of course I do. Everybody loves Bloodsport. But is it my number 1 to rewatch? No, it's not. It's not. I do rewatch it, but it's not the one that I would go, you know what, this is Van Damme. Even though it is, it's just too, there's something missing. I don't know if it's a Hollywood quality to it. So it's not a number 1, but is it a great film? Yeah. And does it have some great songs in it? For sure. And does it have Forrest Whitaker in it? Yes. And is he running around? Yes. And is it good? Yeah, it's great. It's great. Okay, at number 3, I have got Desert Heat. I don't know what it's called in your country, but we're just going to call it Desert Heat. I can't remember what it's called in which place. This film really captures how Van Damme can act. He plays this drunk. It's just such an eerie film. You've got Pat Morita in this movie. They're all in this like diner in this weird town that's getting overrun by these hillbilly bullies that are just taking what they want, killing who they want. And Van Damme's like, nah, I'm not having this. And it also has Danny Trejo as his friend. And it's just wonderful. He's like this friend that seems like a spirit guide on his shoulder. And Van Damme listens to him, and there's just something really like golden about this film that I love it, and I love rewatching it. Okay, now at number 2, what could it be? It's Nowhere to Run. Again, this utilises Van Damme's acting. I've seen him do enough high kicks by this point and spinning roundhouses and doing the splits that when I watch Nowhere to Run, I want to feel the heart of the story. I want to feel some emotions, and in this one we get to see Van Damme
take to this family. They take him in. We get to see him almost happy with a new family to protect and being a good guy. And I can rewatch this all day long. It's a great movie. Okay. Number 1 is Kickboxer. The reason for it, it's just wonderful. It's got the song Streets of Siam. Paul Herzog does a wonderful job with the soundtrack. It's got gorgeous scenery, some of the best training sequences. We get to see Van Damme fighting what seems to be an impossible opponent, and it's just an absolute delight to watch from start to finish. The music's amazing. I've already mentioned that. I love the training sequences so much. Are they believable? Absolutely no way. We already know that Van Damme can stretch his legs, so that's pulling machine that he's on. It's silly, but we get to see Van Damme dancing, and this film, just watch it. Watch it, don't bother with any of the sequels. Watch this one, because this is where it's at. And that concludes my top 10 Van Damme films. If you agree with me, that's brilliant. I'm really, really happy. And if you don't, then I'm sad for you, because your taste in films is piss poor. Thank you.
Hello, and here I am again, but this time not talking worst to best, but just talking about his movies, and that's Kurt Russell. Kurt Russell's been in my life since I can remember. He's been in some of the best films and cult classics that I've ever seen. So I'm going to talk about, in no particular order, some of my favourite roles with Kurt Russell. So, Overboard. This film is a joy to watch. Kurt Russell is so likeable. The plan that he hatches up to get Goldie Hawn's character to stay with him is terrible. However, she was a bitch, and she kinda deserved it. But he takes it too far. But it's heartwarming, and you grow to love the children just like Goldie Hawn does. And the story is silly, but wonderful and heartwarming, and the performances are great. So this one is up there for me. Next, Big Trouble in Little China. When he plays Jack Burton, he's so cocky. Like, this film is a gem. It could have had sequels. Did it need them? No. Like, it's a standalone 80s cult classic with magic and kung fu and karate and girls with green eyes and Jack Burton's one-liners, and it's just an absolute goldmine for quotes. The soundtrack's amazing. The grittiness of the film is amazing. The cast is amazing. Some of the special effects are amazing. Some are silly, but it doesn't really matter. And growing up with this, like, even looking back on it now, I love it. So yeah, Kurt Russell did well with this one. Now, Vanilla Sky. Vanilla Sky is a brilliant remake of a film I've not seen. So this is the only version I've seen. And I think Kurt Russell does a phenomenal job as the Doctor. You really get a sense that he cares about Tom Cruise's character. That he wants to get to the bottom of why Tom Cruise is in the prison cell. And the way he plays him is so fatherly that you just want more of him. It's like he's a protector for him. And Kurt does it so well. So this is up there as well to be talked about. I wish he was in it a little bit more, but what we do get of him, it's just pure gold. Okay, now, which one will I talk about? Stargate. Stargate was great. It was welcomed. It was an adventure. I remember it coming out
and loving the special effects, loving to see Kurt Russell again. Somebody who I loved was still up there in the cinemas. So yeah, Stargate, great. He doesn't talk that much in it. A bit like the film Soldier. Soldier is a very cheap but likeable film. It feels like almost straight to DVD. I think it probably was. There's just something about it that makes it not cinema worthy, but Kurt Russell turns up, does his job. He's believable as the soldier, he's likeable as the soldier, and the story's likeable. It's just, from start to finish, if you accept it for what it is, like a cheaper version of some sort of Mad Max dystopian world, it's good. So yeah, I like talking about that one. It doesn't get enough love. Now, I'm going to talk about one which could be good, but I don't really like it that much. But I kind of do it. It's Tango and Cash. Tango and Cash, like, I love the buddy cop sort of vibe that you get from it. However, this one feels like some sort of sketch, making fun of Stallone's characters, Rambo and things like that. And some of the storylines are a little bit silly and hard to believe, like where he dresses up as a woman. And I also hate the soundtrack and Jack Palance's character, where he's obsessed with using the rats and the rat traps or the mouse traps or whatever it is. And the music, this silly music that whoever did the score for this film should be ashamed of themselves, because it damages it. It makes it very silly. You've got stuff like Lethal Weapon coming out, and then you've got this, which is silly. But I kind of like it for some elements of it. I love the prison part. I love all that. Could they have made sequels? Yeah. With a better director. So yeah, I'm on the fence with it. But it's not wonderful. Now, what can I talk about next? Escape from New York. Now, the last time I watched this, I didn't like it as much as I used to. It's dated a little bit. Kurt Russell is great. The look that he's got with the patch over his eye is so memorable and distinct and of its time and iconic. And you could have this on posters, you could re-release this character. There's so much potential with Snake Plissken. It's great. The sequel's not great, but I'll still watch it. It has rewatchability for how bad it is in some parts. Now I want to talk about the next one. This is a role that I really, really loved him in, and that was Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Again, he's that father figure, a bit like he was in Vanilla Sky, although this time he turns sinister and he ends up being the bad guy. And you just really want to like him. Like, he's so likeable. He's got, he's a god at the end of the day, and he's searching for something, but his ego, which is his name, overrides everything. And the cost is he doesn't care about anyone but himself. And I think that Kurt Russell, and I think that Kurt Russell does a great job portraying the nice guy and the bad guy. Okay. Another Kurt Russell movie that I really like to rewatch is Poseidon. I love the original of this. I think it's better than this one. But I do love to see a disaster film like this, especially on a Sunday afternoon. You could fall asleep to it, and it doesn't really matter. But does he do a good job in this? Yeah, I think he does. I watched The Computer Wore Tennis Shoes recently. I didn't really enjoy that, so I'm not going to talk about it, but I watched it. Now, Kurt Russell, Sky High. Sky High, even though it's ridiculous and silly, which it's meant for kids, there's something about Kurt Russell in this film. The way he plays the silly dad superhero, it's a fun performance. It's showing the versatility of Cat. And yeah, it's just more gold to see him on screen. I've never seen The Thing. Not all the way through. I've seen bits of it, so I can't comment on it. Like, for someone like me who likes films, I don't know what it is about this one, but I've just never thought, yeah, I'm going to go and watch that. Or I've fallen asleep. So I can't talk about that one. What else do we have? Executive Decision. I can rewatch it. It's, again, another disaster on board a plane. Heist. Terrorists, whatever. It's not bad. It's not bad. I didn't mind it. The Barefoot Executive. Didn't really like this one. This is where the monkey's picking what... It's predicting what is going to be popular on the TV network. And he becomes an executive using the monkey. It's silly. Like... It's creative, it's original. I just don't see where they were going with this with children. I don't see why children would like this. The plot, like, children don't know what TV ratings are or care about them. So yeah, it was weird, that one. The Hateful Eight, seen half of it, fall asleep every time, so I can't comment. But what I did see was good. 3,000 Miles to Graceland. This one is underrated. It's just great. Like, Kevin Costner's good in it. Courtney Cox is good in it. Kurt Russell's great in it. And it's all about this convention and this heist in this casino or bank. I can't remember, but it's a casino, I think, maybe. And they're all dressed as Elvis to try and rob this place. And it's just great. It's a great road movie. You always feel like you're on the move, which I love those sort of films. Something in the vein of like Wild at Heart, you know, that sort of U-turn, you know, that sort of vibe. So yeah, it's fun. Breakdown. This one's great. His wife goes missing. He's angry, he wants revenge, and he gets it, and it's great. Loved Breakdown. Didn't see that until recently. Tombstone. Tombstone, what a wonderful film. I love a good western. The older I get, the more I appreciate them. There is something calming about watching a western, even when there's lots of gunshots. So seeing Kurt Russell playing, I think does he play Wyatt Earp? Yeah. It just, the supporting cast is great as well. He was made for films like this. Christmas Chronicles. This was a great Christmas film. He played Santa beautifully. It makes me want to rewatch it. For it being a Netflix production, I think it's got longevity. I think that in years to come, when we're all dead and gone, that this film will get rewatched on every platform. Because it's a great little film. I've not seen the sequel to it. I hear it's not as good. That's all I know about it. But yeah, The Christmas Chronicles, great little film. Hello, and here I am again to talk about another one of my favourite actors, and that's Sylvester Stallone. Absolutely adored him, but not from my childhood. From the age of 18, I was going through a breakup, and I found Rocky 3. And for some reason, that film inspired me, and I found myself wanting to see more and more of Sylvester Stallone. So I'm giving you my worst to best of only the ones that I've seen. So, I'm going to begin with Oscar. Oscar for me is a waste of time. It was a misfire for me, more so than Stop or My Mom Will Shoot or Rhinestone. It had Stallone doing humour, and it felt like a fish out of water. It didn't feel right. There was just something wrong with this film. It's ugly. It's set in a horrible era. It's manic. Everyone's running around like it's some sort of stage play. I don't know. I get nothing from it. And I don't think anyone else did. So I'm putting that right at the bottom. Oscar's at the bottom. I won't rewatch it. I don't want to. So, what would I pick next? I'm going to pick the Expendable franchise. I don't like these. I've already explained this in my Arnold Schwarzenegger Worst to Best. So I'm going to pick all three of the Expendable movies and put them right after Oscar. They bring nothing to me. And I love all the stars in them. Absolutely nothing. It's got all the ingredients, but it makes a terrible meal. And they wanted to keep serving more of this meal to me. And I'm a fussy eater at the best of times. So after the first one, it was like, oh, okay, I'll try and have some of the second one, and the third one. Oh God. Anyway, I've done that. Expendables, not a good film. Next for me, this is tricky. Rambo 3. Rambo 3 again. It's got all of the elements. It's got Stallone. It's got more of the action. More with Afghanistan, is it? I don't know, man. But this series has spiraled into this action, high-octane, machine gun dwelling war hero. I don't know, man. It's just become so unrealistic. Like, the first one is an absolute beautiful movie. The second one's alright. We're not going to go about that yet. We could talk about them later. This third one, I didn't really like it. So we'll leave that one there. Okay. Driven. Driven is drivel. If you want to see Stallone in a CGI-infested mess of a Formula 1 or whatever sort of car it is, he's picking up coins with his tyres. He can choose which tyre he picks up the coin with. That's how good of a driver he is. It's that unrealistic that they have CGI cars. Like, they could film this, but they choose to CGI it, and it's that era of CGI where it's just the throwing. It's just awful. It's awful. Rennie Harlin, who I genuinely think is a good director, drops the ball with this one. He's done A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 4, which, for someone who had no experience, phenomenal job he does with that. He also did Die Hard 2, not so good, but he's learning. He did Cliffhanger, pretty good. But with Driven, it's not good. Next, for me, is Judge Dredd. I've tried to like this. It's, I remember back in 1995, I had the choice of seeing Judge Dredd or seeing Batman Forever for the second time. And I said, I'm going to go see Batman Forever again. And I missed Judge Dredd at the cinema. And I didn't really miss much, because it's not very good. It feels cheap. And they've spent all the money on Stallone. He looks great with blue eyes. That's the best thing I can say about this film. The visual effects are piss poor. The acting, they're trying their best. But there's something about this that feels poxy and small and contained, like it's all done in a studio. There's no depth. And for me, that's why it scores here. Next for me, for rewatchability at least, is Nighthawks. This one bores the hell out of me. Stallone looks great with a beard in it, and Billy D. Williams looks great too. But that's all I remember from it. It's a very forgettable film. And that's all I want to talk about that. Okay, so what do I hate more than the other? Because I want to get to the good ones. Like, I do love Stallone, but he's done quite a few poops along the way. I'm going to go with Stop or My Mom Will Shoot, even though I do like this film in my own weird way. It's very silly, and to keep rewatching it, like, there's rewatchability, it's like, I don't know if I feel this one. But if it was on TV and it was on, I'd probably sit there and watch the entire thing. It's not horrific, but it's also not very good. Now, people will say to me that this is wrong, and I'm crazy for saying this, but Demolition Man. I think Demolition Man is one of the most overrated films I've ever seen. Again, it's got all the elements. It's got Sandra Bullock. It's got Wesley Snipes. It has... Is Rob Schneider? Is he in it? He's not in it, is he? I don't know if he's in it. I've forgotten. It's got the guy out of Beetlejuice in it, the fat guy. And it's set in the future, and I don't care. I don't care. The storyline's poop. Okay. Avenging Angelo. I've seen this one twice. Do I remember it? Yeah, I remember it. It was alright. I didn't mind it. It was a bit more grown up. And I thought, this one's alright. It's not too bad. So I'm putting Avenging Angelo there. Then we have ICU, which was in the same year. It's called Detox in the UK. But I think in America or across the seas, it's called ICU. Nobody saw it. I think it over here in the UK, I think it was straight to DVD. And then another one of them is Get Carter. This is a remake of a film from the past, and Stallone thought he could have a go, and you know what? His acting in it is pretty good. Is the film any good? No, it's very slow paced, not much goes on. You get the title, but you don't get the guts of the original. Then I'm going to go with Ants. Ants, Stallone's not the main character in this, but he plays a big character, but it's CGI animation, like it's just vocal talent, so, but I've seen it. Okay, now I'm going to go with Tango and Cash. I go into depth about how silly this film is on my Arnold Schwarzenegger review. It has all the elements, but it's executed in such a poor way. Stallone's an unlikable character in this, and he's not fun or anything like that. He's square, and he's supposed to be, but it feels odd. It does feel odd. And the music's horrendous. And that's that one. And then we've got Rocky V. I adore the Rocky franchise, but Rocky V for me is up. I love the first 5-10 minutes where it feels like it's connected to part 4, and then it suddenly feels like it's jumped to 1990, and we are put into this depressing rap infested, because now suddenly Rocky has incorporated rap because it's moving with the times, and it shows. But it's not good rap, you know. It's not rap that you want to go and re-listen. It's not like listening to Vince DiCola from Rocky 4. If you're going to listen to any of the soundtracks, the least, it's going to be Rocky 5's. It's such a poor quality film that tries to be good. They wanted to try and make it realistic and give Rocky brain damage. And the result is he doesn't fight in a ring, and people want to see him fight in a ring. They wasn't ready to see him retire like we grew to in Rocky Balboa and Creed and all that. They wanted to see him fight again, and the box office showed from it. Like, there's not much pleasure from watching Rocky 5. Like, you've had the high of Rocky 4, like you're on this edge of this mountain. Literally, there's a mountain in Rocky 4. You conquer the mountain. What next? The only way is down, and that is what Rocky 5 suffers from. Down, down, down. It does nothing but bring you down, and that's why Rocky 5 scores this place. Okay, Daylight. Daylight's one of them films that TV networks would show all the time because it's cheap to show these sort of films, these disaster films, where you will have the main star, which is Stallone, and you might get a couple of other recognisable people. The rest of them all are just thrown in because they are cheap. They are filmed in tiny sets, making out like they were in this huge tunnel, you know, with all these... it's just not very good. It's a very claustrophobic movie. And I will lead to my next one, which is Assassins. It's not bad. It's not bad. I like the dynamic between Stallone and Banderas. But there was also another film that came out just before it called The Specialist, which I quite enjoy, and I'm going to place this next. The Specialist was a delight to watch. I've seen it about 10, 12 times, something like that. I've seen it enough. The chemistry between him and Sharon Stone is bizarre, but it works. And being a young boy, I remember looking at this and thinking, this film's awesome. It's got James Woods as the villain. Like, what more could you possibly want from a movie? You've got Sharon Stone, James Wood, and Sylvester Stallone. All three of them together, combined. That's why I enjoy it. Oh, and you've got Eric Roberts is in this as well. Eric Roberts is a legend, and he doesn't get spoken of enough. So yeah, that's why The Specialist is up there. Let's go with Rambo 2. I don't mind Rambo 2. I think it's a fun popcorn flick, but it's not a patch compared to the first one. Like, I don't get excited for it when I'm watching it. And I should, I guess. I'm a man. I'm meant to like Vietnamese soldiers getting blown up, but I don't. I don't enjoy it. You know, the war's long over, and I don't really know what's going on in this film. If I'm honest, they're picking up the prisoners of war. People are turning against Rambo. The American army I don't know what it is. It's just silly. Like, the first one is hands down a superior film. These are just cash grabs. It's not a bad film, but it's just silly. Okay. Escape Plan. I do like it. It's good. It brings Arnold Schwarzenegger to the mix, and they are like dynamite when they're on screen together in this. Really good. Even though it's two men trying to escape a prison, like, you believe their ages and the way they behave. It's a fun ride. Like, they both do a great performance in this film. I've not seen the two sequels, and I don't intend to. So nobody even bring up the Escape Plan sequels. Okay. Rhinestone. Rhinestone is a good movie. It's a silly movie, but it's good. You've got Sylvester Stallone, and you have Dolly Parton, and she's trying to get him to become a singer, because she has a bet with her manager or something like that she can make him a singer, this New York taxi driver. And it's just a fun film, man. Like, this sort of film you'd want to stick on with the family and go, let's watch this. Let's just sit here and watch this. Like, it's a very pretty but silly film, and I get enjoyment out of every time. This film gets slated a hell of a lot. Even Stallone hates the fact he did Rhinestone. I don't. He's singing and having fun and showing that life shouldn't be taken seriously. So for that, it's up here. Okay. Lockup. Lockup is a prison drama, action drama. It was coming from an era where this was a popular situation for people to be in. We had Van Damme in something similar called Death Warrant. But this one has Stallone, and he's a good guy, but he's in prison, and he sees that people are being hurt, and he sticks up for them because he's the good guy. And this particular warden's trying to destroy him, and it's good. It's good. I recommend it. There's no surprises, but it's not a bad movie of Stallone's. Okay, next. Rambo Last Blood. I'm going to go with Rambo Last Blood. I didn't mind it. I kind of liked the beginning half. The second half, not so much. But the beginning half, the build-up of the relationship between him and the girl, I thought that was great. Second half, I couldn't care for it, if I'm honest. The more violent he got, the more I don't care. So that's that. Now this is tricky. I'm going to go with Over the Top. Over the Top is a great family film. Again, underrated. He is an arm wrestling truck driver, and he enters a competition with his son that he's just learning to have a bond with because his mother's just died, and he's now to be in his custody, and he's trying to teach him how to be a real man because his son is all prim and proper and wears a uniform and goes to private school, and his dad, Lincoln Hawk, is a truck driver, and it's trying to show you somewhere the meeting in the middle of the father and the son, and them taking elements from each other, like how to be a man, how to be respectful, how to not make rash decisions, and the bond that you see between the father and the son is incredible. And I would recommend this film to anybody who wants to see what family can be like when it's broken, because building relationships with children from broken homes, it can be difficult, and this film tries to tackle that. So I applaud them for making this a family film. He could have just made it a high octane arm wrestling movie, but no, they decided to bring in the child element, and it works. So well done to them for that. Next, I'm going to go with Rocky Balboa. I do love Rocky Balboa, however, it doesn't bring much to the mix, and the reason for this is Mason the Lion Dixon. We've gone from having enemies of Rocky's to this guy who is a proper boxer, as in he gives Rocky a chance, who's not elderly, but he's older, and it's like when you have a fight with a young man fighting an old man, you don't know if the young man is giving his all. And I think this is the problem. There's no enemy in this film. You feel for both of them, and because of that, it's hard to cheer on Rocky. Like an old man taking advantage of a champion young man. I mean, ultimately he doesn't win, Rocky, and he's happy with that. And I think, yeah, it's cute and everything, but they could have done so much. They could have brought Adrian back just for a swan song. She could have died in it. They could have done something with it, but no, she's already dead. For whatever reason that was, I think it was probably because of her age, and they wanted to look believable and still look young. That's my guess. So he thought, you know what, I'm going to kill her off because she looks too old in real life. That's my guess. Why else would you not bring her back? She's gold when she's on screen. She's the reason why Rocky and Adrian worked. And in this one, he's killed her off. In my opinion, worst decision. Okay. What next? I'm going to go with Cliffhanger. This is Rennie Harlin when he can direct well. This changed the way we saw Stallone. Like, we always knew he was strong, but like this now, we see him, he is a mountain rescue, and he's barely wearing any clothes, and it's insane. Like, he is at his peak here for physicality. Like, he looks just insane in this film. And it's a great movie, and John Lithgow is an amazing villain. And the plot's silly, but I like it and I can rewatch it. It's a great film to watch at Christmas because it's got that snowy feel. And it's a great film just to have on in the background if you're doing something but you want some sort of entertainment. So yeah, Cliffhanger's great. Next for me is Rocky 4. I'm going to go with Rocky 4. Even though I love this film, I don't love it as much as the others. The reason for it is it feels so disjointed and disconnected from the other Rocky movies. It does its own thing. It's got its own composer. It's set in Russia. It's so disjointed from the rest of the franchise. It's also very fastly paced in the editing, the dialogue. There's barely any dialogue in Rocky 4. And for every punch that Ivan Drago can throw, we lose dialogue. And we lose some vital dialogue. He did the director's cut, which wasn't bad. There was lots of scenes that were missing. He removed the robot. I didn't mind that. You know, the robot wasn't real. The film franchise, if you watch Rocky 1 and then you watch Rocky 4, like, something's gone wrong here. They've got these fictional robots in Rocky 4, making out you can program the voices. We can't even do that these days, and we've got AI. Like, it's silly, Rocky 4, but it's still good. And it does have one of the best fights and some of the best music, but it is silly, and for that reason I'm putting it here. I'm not going to mention the Creed movies, because really they should be before Rocky 4. So I'm just going to put them just before Rocky 4, and then we'll move on from there, because I do like him in them, but they're not his films. There you go. Right, what we got next? Next for me is one that should have done better. It is renowned as a good film, and that's Copland. Stallone took a massive pay cut to do this role, to prove to the world that he could act. But by this point, not even this role could save him. But the movie is fantastic. It's about dirty cops, and Stallone is under the pressure of doing the right thing. And it's a great film. It really is. Great cast, great acting, great dialogue. Stallone plays this overweight, semi-deaf sheriff who will not play ball with the other cops because he has to do the right moral thing. It's a great film. It should really be like up in the top 3, but it's not, because I don't rewatch it all the time. But it is great, so I recommend you to watch this if you've never seen it. Rocky 3. Rocky 3 for me was what started it all. I mentioned this at the beginning. So Rocky 3 was an absolute delight. There's so many fights in this film. There isn't much dialogue again. Like, something changed from Rocky 2 to Rocky 3. It's like, you know what? We don't want people sat in the cinemas for 2 hours. We want them to sit in there for an hour and a half, give them 3 fights, lots of music, less dialogue. And that's what they do with these films. So I'm going to go with Rocky 3 there. Now I'm going to go with First Blood, the first Rambo film, whatever you want to call it. That one. It's not a bad movie at all. You get to see some fantastic acting from Sylvester Stallone, especially at the end. Like, it is phenomenal. Like, if he would have got into like proper acting instead of action, he could have been an Al Pacino or a Robert De Niro, I believe. Because if you see the way he acts at the end, the emotion in his face, it's real. It is real. I tell everybody, go and watch the end of the first Rambo film and just try not to feel what he is trying to convey. And if you can tell me that he's a bad actor, I would love for you to show me somebody who was better, that could do this particular role better than what he gives. He gives 110%. I never liked this film when I was a kid. I thought it was boring. It is head and shoulders above better than the rest of the Rambo movies. It just is. I've missed out Rambo 4, John Rambo, whatever you want to call it, the one with the CGI blood. It's good. It comes just before this. This is great. So I'm putting it there. Okay. Now, there might be some films that I've missed out of Stallone's that I have seen. You know what? But I haven't missed this one out. Cobra. This has rewatchability. Do you know why? Because it's the epitome of the 80s. It makes you feel like you are in some sort of music video. And you don't want to leave it. It's just over the top. Stallone's character is ridiculous. He's this mean machine with a massive heart. Like, he's soft for every, like, hardness, bit of hardness he has about him, his car and all that. There's a softness to Stallone's character in this. And it shows. And, yeah, the music in it's great. The villain's amazing. Brian Thompson, like, he has starred with all of the big ones as a villain or something. He's been in Van Damme movies, he's been in Arnold Schwarzenegger movies. Like, the guy is just so versatile, and he's brilliant as the villain in this. Okay, right. I'm gonna go with... The first Rocky is amazing, but I'm gonna go with Rocky. Rocky is great. It's a masterpiece. It really is. But it doesn't quite capture what I want to make it a 10 out of 10. Rocky 2 does. So I'm moving on to Rocky 2 now. Rocky 2 is my favourite Stallone movie. Here's the reasons why. You get thrown straight in after Rocky 1. He's waking up in the hospital, or he's getting taken to the hospital. He's all battered and bruised. And we get a glimpse of him spending the money and getting his wife pregnant because he marries Adrian and she's pregnant, and then he doesn't want to fight anymore and he can't keep a job. And you see the struggle of Stallone's character. He's just trying to keep a job. He just wants to provide for his family. And he's trying his best. He's wearing a suit. He's wandering around places trying to get the job just to provide for his wife, who loves him. She doesn't want him to fight anymore. And Apollo is calling him a coward, and she goes into a coma because she's working too hard at work. And he sits by her bedside because he feels the guilt that he's not done the right thing as a father and as a husband and just as an overall man. And Mickey looks at Stallone, at Rocky, and basically sees him as a child and says, I will stay with you. I've got nothing more that I need to do than I will stay with you. And he sacrifices his own time to sit and pray with Rocky for Adrian to come back out of a coma. And when she does, she tells him to go and win the fight. And that is all he needs to make him feel hungry to go in and have a rematch with Apollo Creed. And we all know how it ends with one of the most phenomenal boxing matches that you'll ever see on screen. You feel every second of the 10-second count ticking down. The bruises on the face, the shut eyes, the absolute exhaustion that you feel from these two men is insane. You feel like you've taken the punches with him. Both of their faces are battered. And this film is just an absolute delight to watch. So Rocky 2 is my favourite. If I've missed any others out, I don't really care, if I'm honest. Hello. I'm a massive Arnold Schwarzenegger fan. I have been since I was very, very young. And I thought, what better thing to do than rank his films from worst to best? Because why not? So, I'm not going to include any of the films where he just got a cameo appearance. Like, I don't want that. I don't want that to be ranked.
So it's just going to be films where he's like the main star or one of the main stars. So I'm going to do this from rewatchability. I did a James Bond one recently, and it's all about rewatchability. It's not, is it great or anything like that. It's about how many times can you watch this and go, you know what, I can watch it again. I can watch it again. So we're going to do this with Arnold Schwarzenegger. So we're going to start off with my least favourite one to watch with him is Junior. Junior, where do I start with this? I remember seeing the posters for this at the bus stops and thinking, oh, Arnold Schwarzenegger's back with Danny DeVito. Brilliant, because I was young. I think I was about 12. And I remember looking, and I never went to see it. And I love twins, and I love the chemistry there. What was they trying to do with this film? Recreate lightning in a bottle from what they did with twins, keeping it baby themed and doctors and making Arnold Schwarzenegger have a baby. Like, it all just seems like a sketch. They tried to make it into this believable film, but made it a comedy. I don't know, the magic that twins brought to the screen is just not recaptured here. Ivan Reitman should have learned from when he makes something amazing, do not make a sequel or anything like it, because he's just not very good at doing it. He did it with Ghostbusters. He makes an amazing, world-changing movie like Ghostbusters, and then makes Ghostbusters 2, which is just not that good. It's not. I have nostalgic feelings for Ghostbusters 2, but it's not that good. So I'm sticking Junior as the worst of the worst for me. Like, I just can't rewatch it. I would sooner watch my next one on the list, which is terrible, but there is some redeeming factors in there because it's his first role, and that's Hercules in New York. I've watched both versions of this. I first started with the dubbed version, so there was an American accent over him, and I watched it for the comedy value. And it's mostly the first 10-15 minutes where he does a lot of talking. The rest of the film is garbage. In fact, the whole film is garbage. I do not like it in any way, shape or form. But to me, I would rather sit and try and rewatch that and get something from that than I would Junior. That's all I want to say about Hercules in New York. It's been done to death. People have talked about it. So it's going to lead me to the next one for rewatchability. And that is Red Heat. I don't know what it is about this film, but I can't stomach it. I can't sit through it. It feels off to me. It doesn't feel like it belongs in his huge library of films, but I don't know. I just don't like it. I don't mind James Belushi as well. For some reason, I just don't like it. And that's all I want to say about that one. Rewatchability. Raw Deal. Raw Deal, that comes next. I did rewatch this recently for the first time in about 20 years. And that's not a good thing. 20 years. It's an Arnold Schwarzenegger film and you're leaving it 20 years before you watch it again. Which tells you all the things you need to know. It was fun to rewatch because I didn't remember anything about it. But the production value is piss poor. It's not good. And then there's another one from a similar era, and that's Red Sonja. I don't like this film. I don't know what they were trying to do here, trying to make him... He's not Conan in this, is he? What even is he in this? What is this film? Where does it belong? Why did he agree to it? I'm assuming he just signed all these contracts before he started to become a megastar. This must have all been done around just after the success of Terminator, I assume. And he's thought, yeah, I'll do that. Conan was good, it made money. But it's not good, and to be honest, it's crap. It's crap, it's boring. And it's got Bridget Nielsen in it, and for some weird reason, this circle of actors and actresses were all mingling and making films together, and not in a good way. So yeah, I'm glad that that one never got any sequels. It's just not very good. Batman and Robin. The problem with Batman and Robin, right, is I do rewatch it. And every time I watch it, I hate myself for watching it. It's like I want something to change each time I watch Batman and Robin. I want
to see a reason why Arnold Schwarzenegger was picked to play Mr. Freeze. I want to see why they went for this humour that's not funny. And every time I'm so disappointed. It's just shit. It's shit. Like, it ruined Batman. Taken, like, by the fourth film, you know what? We're going to do what Superman did. We're going to destroy everything we've built here. And they didn't learn anything from Superman 4. They didn't learn anything from that. And the arrogance of it and the greed from Warner Brothers at that time was so apparent. Arnold Schwarzenegger, this is wrong casting. Awful. Next on my list is Conan the Barbarian. No, it's not. Conan the Destroyer. Conan the Destroyer is a terrible sequel, prequel. I don't even know what. I don't care about the story in this one. The first Conan the Barbarian, is phenomenal compared to this. This is garbage. This is, oh look, we can make something a hell of a lot cheaper because this character is established now. And they expect the viewer to just accept it, and I don't accept it. It's just terrible. It feels PG. Like, the first one is gritty, it's scary, it's brutal. This one, you could show to children. The only problem is children don't want to watch this one. Nobody wants to watch this film. It's not good. And Arnold Schwarzenegger does not carry it. And it doesn't matter that they throw in Grace Jones. It's not good. And I don't want to rewatch it. This list needs to be changed already. Like, I've completely forgotten about all three of the Expendable films. 1, 2, and 3. 3 being my least favourite. And then 2, and then 1. I'm not interested in Expendables 4. I don't even know if he's in it. I don't think he is. Why would he be? Why would he be? But yeah, the Expendable movies, they are terrible. So I'm putting them not right at the bottom, but they're at the bottom. I don't want to say. I see them as cameo performances. They're not good. Like, these are all my favourite action stars, and the ingredients are all there. Like, there's everybody that I would want to see. But then there's also a load of wrestlers and like mediocre stars, and you're like, why are you in this? Because you were cheap enough and you agreed to it. The Expendable films is a bit like that TV show I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. As in, like, nobody wants to do it unless the money's there. You've even got Harrison Ford doing it. And just you know what, I'm not even going to waste my time with these Expendable films. Waste of time. Just don't bother with them. They're not good. Many people will argue with me on this one, but I'm going to go with Terminator 3. Is it better than the other two that he did? Genesis, and some elements are. But I'm going to go with Terminator 3 for rewatchability. Arnold Schwarzenegger is not likeable at all in this film. I do not care about him. In Terminator 1 and 2, he brings something to the screen. In this one, he's become a meme. He's become a joke of himself. And you see that with some of the humour. It's an embarrassing film to watch, with an amazing ending. The only redeeming factor of Terminator 3 is the ending, because it ends on a negative by the nuclear war occurring, as if to say you cannot change this. And it leaves a sour taste in your mouth, and it's the only redeeming factor, because Arnold Schwarzenegger's performance in this film is beyond shit. It's beyond shit. It's fucking shit. Right, and I don't even need to tell you the reasons why. I can just show you in one photo. Look at this. There you go. There's my answer. Right, let's move on. Terminator Genesis. This film tries, and at the time I was blown away by them trying to alter 1984 again. And then I saw the casting, and then I saw what they'd done with Arnold Schwarzenegger's Terminator, calling him Pops, giving him a human attitude, this father-like figure where he's protecting Sarah Connor and worried about who she gets with and if they're suitable enough. And it's like, we're expected to believe this and swallow this and care for this style. Like, have you not watched Terminator 1 and 2? Do you honestly think that this is what the viewer wants to see? So this is why Terminator Genesis. I mean, there's way too much comedy. It could have been amazing, and is it rewatchable? No, it's not rewatchable because it's got a horrible cast. All of them are good in their own ways, but you put them all together, and it's just this ensemble of shitness, and I don't like it. And then I'm going to go with Dark Fate straight after that one. I don't want to rewatch it. Even though it's quite a serious film, it's so flawed. Arnold Schwarzenegger's good in this. I think he looks amazing. Until he starts selling curtains. Carl the Drapes man. Like, have you not learnt from the humour from Part 3 and from Terminator Genesis? This is not what people want. They don't want that humour. They don't want it. You've taken James Cameron's baby and started to do this to it. Like this is what people wanted. And they've failed so many times. How many studios have been destroyed that own the rights to Terminator? They keep getting sold on and moved on because nobody wants the way that they've taken it. So that's why I don't like that one. People won't agree with me here. And that's fine. But I'm going to say Kindergarten Cop. I do like it, and it is a good film, but I don't want to rewatch it. It's annoying. Like, Twins is a good film. But Kindergarten Cop, I don't think it's as good. I don't want to rewatch it as much, so I'm putting it there. It's funny and it's cute, and it's good to see Arnold do something different, but, like, I don't want to rewatch it. I've seen it enough times now. Like, I look at it and I think, nah. And the older I get, the less I want to see it. Kids are annoying. I have kids. I don't need to watch them running around on a screen. Next for me is The Running Man. The Running Man is not a particularly bad film. I think it needs to be remade. But for rewatchability's sake, like, again, this is such a mediocre TV budget feeling, very small production, even though it's huge. The story, the futuristic, some elements I really love, like, but you put it all together and it doesn't quite work. Like, it makes you feel depressed when you watch it. I don't know if it's the lighting. I don't quite know what it is, but there's just something very depressing about The Running Man. Even though it becomes, the hero wins in the end. Like, it's a nightmare from start to finish. That, I don't know, the resolution is just not enough. It's not enough. I don't hate this film because I've rewatched it millions of times, but I'm going to put it there for rewatchability. Now, what we've got next? I'm going to go with Escape Plan. It's a really, really good film. No, I'm going to go with Sabotage, actually. I've watched it once, don't want to rewatch it. Let's move on from that. Now we'll go to Escape Plan. I do like this film. It was brilliant at the time, but it spawned 2 horrible sequels that were cash grabs, and Arnold wasn't involved. And I think the thing that makes Escape Plan work is the fact that it's Stallone and Arnold. They work so well together that it's a travesty that they never worked together more in the past. This film seemed to be overlooked. Like, you've got 2 megastars like that. It's a bit like having Al Pacino and Robert De Niro in a film. Like, this should have been made a big deal of, but it just wasn't. And it's good, but upon rewatching, it's, once you know the plot, like, it becomes a little bit boring, because there's no surprises. At first, you're quite shocked. You think this story's pretty cool, and it is, but it's contrived and it's silly, and I'm gonna leave that one there. Okay, right next, I'm gonna go with Eraser. At the time, thought it was a wonderful film. The aeroplane sequence, I thought that was amazing. Special effects, I believed it was Arnold Schwarzenegger falling out of an aeroplane. Like, I was so silly. Do I like this film? Yes, but there has to be a particular order of how I would watch or choose an Arnold Schwarzenegger film. So Razor's going there. The CGI crocodile, terrible. That era where they was putting CGI into everything when they didn't really need to, like, but they look back on that and think, what was we doing? Because the film just doesn't need the CGI crocodile, but that's that. Now, this one's tricky, but I'm going to go with Last Action Hero. This, just the cover, the poster for this film alone, like, is my childhood. However, the film is lacking something, and I don't know what it is. I can't put my finger on it. I've watched it many times, and it's like every boy's dream is to meet their actor, you know, be sucked into a film. Even adults, you know, we're all watching films because we want to escape. And imagine a golden ticket that could take you into a movie world. Everything in this film talks to me, screams franchise material, especially like, say if Warner Brothers had it, all the different characters that could turn up, this multiverse, all via this cinema ticket. It's a goldmine waiting to happen, but it just didn't quite work with Last Action Hero. I'm going to go with Jingle All the Way. I watch this every year, so rewatchability is like at least once a year. And is that enough to put it higher up? It's an obligation, especially when we've got children, to watch this. Is it a good film? No way. But does it have moments where I'm like, this is like funny or amazing? Yeah, like I do like it. Now, you've got The End of Days and you've got Sixth Day. I'm going to go with The Sixth Day. This concept is wonderful, but for some reason it came out in an era where nobody was interested in Arnold Schwarzenegger anymore. I remember seeing the poster for it and thinking, this is not going to do well, and I don't think it did. But it's good, and do you know why it's good? Because it's got Robert Duvall in it, and he does a phenomenal performance in this, like he does in everything. Like, he makes this mediocre sci-fi film great because of his acting ability. He's so good, and Arnold Schwarzenegger tries his best in this one. Right, so I'm going to go with End of Days next. This one was a breath of fresh air. You get to see a broken Arnold Schwarzenegger, an alcoholic, a depressed Arnold Schwarzenegger, something different. Instead of the bodybuilding, confident, inspiring Arnold Schwarzenegger, you get to see the first glimpses of him being broken. And I love it for that. And I think Gabriel Byrne's performance as the devil works so well together. Again, this was that era of Arnold Schwarzenegger where people were just like, it's not going to be very good. It's not going to be very good. Something happened, and I don't know if it was when he chose Jingle All the Way, or because he chose Batman and Robin, but they were consecutive, and it was just like ping, 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 ping. He's losing his star status. So End of Days. It's a great film. Now, rewatchability for me, for Predator. Like, it's a great film, but I don't get off on it like a lot of people do. A lot of people, oh yeah, I love Predator, and I look at them and I go, why? Why do you love Predator? And they're like, yeah, but because, you know, there's a Predator and they're in the jungle, and you put what's good about that? And no one can ever answer me. And it's funny to watch them square, because there's something about Predator that's good, but to say it's an amazing film, it's not. It's really not. It's not. And the sequels get progressively worse. Like, just, they struck gold once, and for some reason it's created this law. It's like, oh yeah, well, we're going to make, because aliens got this law, Predators going to have this law, and they're going to cross paths and all that. I don't care about these Predators. They don't seem to have any emotions, so why would I care? It's like watching Godzilla and King Kong. Nobody cares. Like, because you don't know what the stakes are. You don't know what they're thinking. So yeah, the Predator film is good, but do I want to keep rewatching it? No. Do I want to see an invisible character pick off people one by one? No. Because that special effect was done in the 80s, not now. Like, I don't want to see that, so that's why it's there. Okay. I'm running out. I've said Eraser. So I'm going to go with Collateral Damage. I like this film. by this point, nobody cared about Arnold Schwarzenegger films. You got Terminator 3, this. He goes and becomes a governor. As in, like, you know what? What's the point of me making these films? Even though he's making tons of money, he must have known that his expiry date was there. And Collateral Damage is not a bad film at all. In fact, it makes you feel for Arnold Schwarzenegger. You see him lose his family and he becomes very bitter and twisted and desperate, and I like that. I want to see that. Now, there is 2 very serious films that he did, and I'm torn between which one he does the best performance. Now, these films are not particularly that good, but seeing Arnold Schwarzenegger act in them is, because we've been so desperate for the last 30, 40 years to see him acting, and not just like a robot or being the goofball, but being the actor that you care about. The main point that you want to watch the film is his character. You want to believe that he is who he is, and he does this amazing in the film Aftermath. It's a depressing film about a collision in the sky caused by the negligence of the air traffic control guy, and some planes crash, and Arnold Schwarzenegger's relatives are on board and they die, and Arnold is so depressed in this film, and it's just amazing to watch. You get to see him as what feels like a real man. Like, you feel every emotion that he's feeling, and that's why I like this one. Now there's another one, Maggie. He plays the father of a girl who has been bitten, and she's going to basically turn into a zombie. If you watch this film just for Arnold Schwarzenegger, you're going to have a great time. Like, he plays the father that cares for his daughter so much. He plays it so well. Like, it's just, you want him to be your father. Like, you look at him and you think, you know what? He's amazing. Like, there's just something regal about his performance. Authentic. Like, he's an Austrian. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You just, it's Arnold Schwarzenegger playing somebody else in this film, and you believe it. You do believe it. His performance is great. Right. Now I'm struggling. What do I put next? Now, I'm going to say True Lies. I do like this film. It is a well-made production. Arnold is great. The chemistry with him and Jamie Lee Curtis is phenomenal. Art Malik as the villain's pretty good. However, it suffers from James Cameronitis, which is, I don't know, the older I get, the less I like his films. I don't know what it is about them. They are, like, if I start to think about Titanic, I feel a little bit queasy. Not because of it being a ship, but because of how aesthetically, I just can't even describe it, but True Lies is good. And this is why it's up here. But it's not number 1 for me. Conan the Barbarian. I'm going to put Conan the Barbarian next because it is a wonderful film. And I've rewatched it more times than I can say. But I'm putting it there just because he's done better movies than this. But this I would love to see a sequel to. A new Conan movie, that would be brilliant. James L. Jones' performance in Conan is fantastic. He plays the villain so well. Arnold Schwarzenegger plays believable. I don't even know what he is. What is he? Slave? What is he? Okay, next on my list after Conan the Barbarian is Commando. I wanted to put this at number 1 for rewatchability because it just has something magical. But I cannot put Commando above the Terminator 1 and 2. I can't. But for rewatchability, Commando. It introduces you to Vernon Wells as the villain. The guy who was in Mad Max as the villain, well, he's back in Chainmail, in Commando, and I could watch this 2 or 3 times a month and still get something from it. It is a complete and utter rip-off of Rambo.
And I don't care, because it's Arnold Schwarzenegger's interpretation. He's even called John, just like Rambo's called John. But John Matrix. John Rambo, John Matrix. Who would win in a fight? Like, it's just such a copycat scenario. You could have called him Jack, but no, we'll call him John. So yeah, Commando goes there, but I do love it. Now I'm going to put Twins. Twins is great because you can watch that with anybody. It's a great family film. It's a great film to watch on your own. Does it make you laugh? Sometimes. Does it stay with you? Yeah, it teaches you something about family. It teaches you about the way that you've got to stick together no matter what. And I like that. The message is delivered well, and I received it well. So Twins is up there for me. Okay, now I'm going to go with Terminator 2. Terminator 2 at the time, like, hands down was the best film I'd ever seen. But the more and more I watch it, the more appeal Terminator 1 has for me. The Terminator. Terminator 2 is great, but once you're over all that CGI, watery looking special effect, like, what are you left with? Not much. Not much. It's an action adventure. It's great. But the horror element that you got from the first one is gone in this one. And it's very much more kid-friendly. Even though some of the special effects are quite horrific, you could see that there was toy lines lining up to make toys for this. And it shows. I'm not dissing this film. Far from it. I'll be rewatching this till the day I die. But is it better than the first one? Not for me. Not for rewatchability. Now, next on my list is Total Recall. I think that this film, for the time, for the actor that they got to be in the main star, which is Arnold Schwarzenegger, to play Douglas Quaid or Hauser or whatever name he goes by, this film is a masterpiece. Like, I have rewatched this countless times. It is dated and I don't care. It's a dystopian, futuristic, weirdly attractive future that I would have loved to have seen happen. It's just great from start to finish. The remake or alternate version, whatever you want to call it, with Colin Farrell is just, it, for however good that is in its own right. Like, this is a classic. You don't remake this or even try. Like, it's just so good. Like, there's so much special effects, the scenery, the miniatures, the acting, the cast. Michael Ironside's phenomenal. Sharon Stone is. The guy who plays Cohagen, I can't remember his name. All of them are good in it. It's just great from start to finish. And it will leave you asking questions every time you watch it. So, finally, I'm going to give you my number one. And my number one is The Terminator. I have rewatched this since I was a child, since I was 7, I think, when I watched The Terminator, and it's an 18, and I remember thinking this film is amazing. I loved this one a hell of a lot more than I did RoboCop. I did like RoboCop, but this is Arnold Schwarzenegger at his best. It's frightening. It's frightening. He's frightening. He does not stop. And the only person that can help Sarah Connor in this is Kyle Reese. The 3 cast members, the main ones in this, are great. The supporting actors, Lance Henriksen in the police station, he's great. The chief, he's great, and so's his couch apparently. Like, this film is so cheaply done, and I think that's what I like about it. I like that they've used their imagination to create the special effects. The sound in this movie is so frightening. Like, if you watch this film on headphones, fall asleep, you're going to wake up when the Terminator's on. Like, it's loud. Terminator 2 is amazing, but it's too polished. This has the grit and the dare and the love and attention that an aspiring filmmaker would love to create something like this, something unique. I'm not dissing Terminator 2, but this one is the golden one. It's just, every time I watch it, I get something new. That's what you want from a film. So yeah, The Terminator is the number one film for me. by Arnold Schwarzenegger. You probably won't agree with my list. Don't care if you do. This is about rewatchability for me. If you do agree with it, great. If not, not the end of the world, is it? Thanks.